So today I'm going to show you a few more advanced tricks of transferring property into and out of self-managed superannuation funds without the accompanying stamp duty bill. So before you get started on this, it would be great homework if you watched the animation that's on our YouTube channel of how property can be transferred from certain family trusts with default beneficiaries or unit trusts into super fund without stamp duty. So it's a real bonus. I mean, lots of people are looking to transfer property into super, commercial property into super, for the great tax benefits and retirement planning. If that can also be done without stamp duty, well, that's a really added bonus. And if you're talking about a property worth a couple of $1,000,000, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of stamp duty that can potentially be saved. So have a look at that of how we managed to take advantage of this stamp duty arrangement. And how it's done is through a declaration of trust rather than a standard REIQ contract. So today I want to talk about some other uses that we might have for these declarations of trust and saving duty. Of course, one I was just talking about, transferring that business real property to super without duty. Also, people are concerned that these generous small business capital gains tax concessions might not be around and they might not last for a long time. They might get attacked at the budget. And similarly, that CGT cap, which is over $1.4 million per member, there's concern that that might get reversed or get scaled back anyway. So people might want to be transferring property into super now before these changes come in, and of course also with these huge superannuation changes coming into effect on 1 July 2017, people are looking at maximising that $540,000 bring forward ability. I'll talk about this one soon, a very interesting way of how we might be able to use these stamp duty concessions to effectively borrow to build the ideal business premises inside the super fund. My next slide, I'll go into some more details there. Now, in the animation, we talked about how we can transfer property into super without stamp duty. Another use for it can be where you want to transfer property out of super, say where you've got a home that you want to use as your holiday house that you're not allowed to have in super anymore, so transferring that property out of super. Similarly, people might want to get property out of a ungeared unit trust or a pre-99 unit trust, or they might simply just want that property outside of super. This is a great way of being able to structure it so we don't have that accompanying stamp duty bill. Look, there's been quite a popular structure of buying particularly residential property via an ungeared unit trust, where the unit holders are on the one hand the super fund and on the other hand the family trust. Over time the super fund buys the family trust's units. If we set the family trust up so it's got these default beneficiaries, well then we can do those unit transfers over time without stamp duty. So great little trick there. Another one also is people might not be ready to buy their business premises inside their self-managed super fund yet. So what they might want to do is make sure that the trust is set up with those correct default beneficiaries. So then we've got those options moving forward of being able to transfer that property into super down the track without the accompanying stamp duty bill, presuming that the Duties Act in Queensland and the OSR's treatment of same remains the same. And look, when you've got a little bit of equity in a property outside of super, and then you've got a little bit of cash inside of super, there's lots of tricks that we can do for novel ways of transferring that property into super. So, come ask me if you are in that situation, what methods and tricks might be available rather than the vanilla limited recourse borrowing arrangements. Now, this is a quite an interesting scenario, and so now typically under a limited recourse borrowing arrangement, you can't buy the land and then borrow again to develop the factory or develop a house on the property. So here's an interesting way where we might be able to use these stamp duty exemptions, to really buy our purpose-built factory. Now it's got to be commercial property because it does involve an acquisition of a related party. And so under this scenario, we've got the self-managed super fund has got $1 million, and the members have just found a piece of land worth $1 million including duty that's in their ideal location, and they want to build a purpose-built factory and office on there that'll be ideal for their business. They can't find anything in the marketplace that really suits their needs. So what we do here is we've got the super fund. We set up a bare trust, and then we actually have the discretionary trust sign the contract to purchase that land. And then right at the start there, we have a contract between the bare trust and that discretionary trust we've set up with those default beneficiaries. We've got a contract to buy a completed product, say the land with the factory built on it. And in this instance, we're saying that's $3 million worth. So the discretionary trust then, the super fund has an initial instalment of the purchase price. It's like a deposit of that $1 million. That funds the discretionary trust purchase of the land. The discretionary trust then goes and gets a construction facility from the bank. In this instance, a $2 million facility, and then over time the building is built by the discretionary trust. The bank, of course, has a mortgage over the property. There's no mortgage over any of the super fund's assets. All the super fund has got is its rights as purchaser under the contract. Then, down the track, when that building's completed, the super fund then completes that purchase, and so the bank then lends the super fund the $2 million balance to complete. The bare trust pays that as a final instalment, settlement occurs, and the bank's paid off under that discretionary trust level. And we entered into that contract at the front end, so there shouldn't really be any capital gains tax issue for us there because the cost base of the property was around that $3 million level. And because we've structured this as a declaration of trust, well then we've only paid stamp duty once on that land purchase, on that $1 million, and we haven't paid stamp duty again on that purchase of $3 million in getting it into the super fund. So, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars of stamp duty, so it's quite an attractive and novel option, and it makes it much more viable for a super fund to use its equity to go and borrow and purchase a property. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on LinkedIn, both Merthyr Law, the company, and myself, Kieran Hoare. If you'd like to join our mailing list, just get in touch with us too, and then hopefully there'll be plenty more tricks like this that we can introduce you to. That's all for today. That's over and out. Kieran Hoare of Merthyr Law.